Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is 10 of Swords in its upright. I'm not surprised to see this right now. What have we been seeing? Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is that moment or modality that feels like that energetic intensity is either creating that sense of energetic revival. It's feeling like it is energetically restorative to a certain extent. Or this is that moment of looking at a circumstance and situation and feeling that sense of energetic exhaustion. Right? It all depends on how you energetically carry something to a certain extent. And we see even now that a lot of that energy, it feels energetically heavy because it feels like the closing out of past cycles. What happens when we are able to observe how much we have energetically changed from the time that we first entered something to where we find ourselves at present? That is that moment of, again, almost looking at the past and saying, like, the past is over, the past is in the past. You need to be able to almost energetically surrender the past to be able to move forward into the future. So we see even now that ability, that moment, it feels like a point of energetic catharsis, because it's almost that sense of recognizing where you are in the energetic present that shows the fact or the feeling like some kind of chapter in the past has reached that point of conclusion. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is that moment that, again, a lot of that energetic or spiritual spring cleaning, if you will, has been a result of this. Remember how we were even talking about that feeling of energetic nostalgia that was coming into play for a lot of the energy in this way. Masculine having more of a cavalier approach, being more willing and ready to shed what isn't necessary, to make more room for what is. Feminine having a little bit more of that reluctance, a little bit more of that resistance, not wanting to come so much into that change place, potentially because of that context of not wanting to energetically let go of some things. But we see even now, for a lot of the energy in this modality, this is that sense of recognition in that feeling of spiritual or energetic, and I have to stress this, that feeling of spiritual or energetic letting go, that immediately allows for the release of new energy, of new opportunity. So this is heavy energy. I need to stress this right now. This is when we move into that modality of energetic catharsis, it has to deal with a lot of harsh realities. So we see even now, this could be that observational point in terms of feeling the experience or feeling the expansion point on what doesn't feel like it's energetically serving you. What occurs when you have that moment of being able to effectively look at something and say something isn't energetically serving us? That is that moment that leaves that place of release and amplification to move forward and say, what is? Right? What is in that space? And we have to have this type of energy here to be able to make room for the new, make room for what is coming. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating that, this is more of that nostalgia that's coming into play. This is more of that amplification. And it could be a lot of that moment that feels like a point of really taking that time to be able to recognize and amplify how much it is energetically taken to be able to move into the manifestation goals that you may presently find yourself in. Even now, we're seeing that is that moment that a lot of the energy is doing that self-review or doing that self-work in terms of recognizing and identifying their own energetic and spiritual happiness, to be able to ascertain how to bring that sense of positivity into the present. Because it does require that sense of energetic release. Having that modality, being able to do so, is in a way what we see is required right now in terms of relation to building towards those manifestation goals. Because this is either relinquishing the grief, understanding what is potentially stopping you from feeling that sense of energetic gratitude that you may be holding on to, that you're trying to ascertain and reach in the long-term manifestation goal. Almost saying, what is stopping you from energetically feeling it now? Identifying that now is how we see that a lot of the energy is utilizing that negative and turning it into an energetic positive. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that moment. Even now, if I told you, remember we were talking about that point of closure. What is that path of closure? A lot of this energy prior to coming into the divine union frequency may have felt like there was something that felt like an open-ended point of requiring or needing some kind of energetic closure around something. For a lot of the energy that is entering the divine union frequency in this way, this is that moment of divine understanding and recognizing and seeing that we don't build closure from the energy outside of ourselves. We build closure when we move into something new. That when we move into a new experience, when we move into a new path, that is the moment that we truly feel the energetic closure point, because that's that moment that amplifies the feeling of nostalgia. What is the feeling of nostalgia? Holding space, holding empathy for where you may have been in the past, but not wanting to return to it. Looking back on it with a sense of potential lingering sadness, regret, grief, but also feeling the amplification of being able to do so from a place of energetic distance. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy experiencing this is why it may feel like you're entering the divine union frequency and saying, like, if I'm so happy right now, why do I feel a little sad? Because that's that observation point of coming into a state of embracing the joy that you feel, holding space for what it may have energetically taken to reach that destination. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This is that modality that we're getting here that almost feels like that sense of certainty in relationality to not repeating past lessons. Remember what I was saying right now that was energetically happening for both masculine and feminine. There was a little bit of this like lingering opportunity to walk back into what was just being amplified as a past lesson, right? Feminine energy, seeing a moment potentially of some masculine energy coming towards them from a state of energetic confusion, not being almost like at a point of like building forth from a place of honesty and clarity, but not seeming like there's a clarification point in terms of what it is that they truly aspire and desire. This is why we see even now a lot of the feminine energy almost stepping back from some of those situations if they're occurring, because this is feminine energy almost saying like, I will energetically show you my manifestation goal if you show me yours. Because this is the feminine energy saying, I don't want to be, this is the feminine energy using so much discernment right now in separation, almost saying like, I want to make sure that we're on the same path. And that's almost the feminine energy going through that process of recognizing and identifying that withholding in that fashion isn't being done in some way to be coy. It's being done to make sure that you feel like you're on the same energetic page with the masculine energy. And what we see for a lot of the masculine energy right now is there could be a moment that could be feeling like some kind of amplification of spiritual or energetic crisis if you're just coming into a space or place where you're trying to build honesty and authentically with the feminine. But you may also be recognizing that if you're feeling some point of energetic confusion, if you're just being authentic to a feminine about the fact that you're energetically confused, that doesn't really create a really fertile ground to be able to build with the feminine, because that's almost the feminine feeling like you're looking towards them to tell you what direction to go in. So you can see how that doesn't feel like that work of like combining your own like your energy together, because it feels more like you're coming towards the feminine from a state of energetic confusion. So we see even now what's happening for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing that. This is going to feel like a little bit of like an energetic, could be even like almost a feeling of some kind of energetic ego death to a certain extent, because I told you, having to do that hard work of making a choice, moving into an intentional direction. What happens when you move with that level or degree of intentionality? You surrender, you let go of the other outcomes. So even now, this feels for like a lot of the masculine energy moving forward in this way, this can feel very difficult, even on the internal aspect, because that's that moment of, again, almost feeling like when we move with conviction, when we move with intentionality, we also say, I'm willing to let go of those other possibilities. So even now, this could be feeling like a very deep, like egoic journey for a lot of the masculine energy doing so right now, because it could feel like you're putting your own like energetic ego on the line to be able to move in that capacity. But what happens when we go through that energetic ego death? Rebirth, right? So we see that is happening right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today. There's that Two of Pentacles just chasing after us all week. Same card that we received right now. This is a moment. There could be a lot of intense recognition that's happening for a lot of the masculine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. We even saw that for some of the masculine energy in this modality right now, you may have had some kind of energetic breakthrough, wherein you may have recognized and identified that if there were spaces, and if this is masculine energy, I can see the masculine energy being like, well, I am authentic here. Well, I am intentional here. Having that moment of suddenly recognizing that you might have different areas wherein you've been authentic, but you've been intentional. Why is it so difficult to energetically bring these together? Because that is intimacy. Intimacy is the combined force of taking the intentionality and blending it with the authenticity. It's fragile stuff. It's powerful stuff. It's fragile stuff. And for a lot of the masculine energy, that recognition point that by putting it in different places, you almost compartmentalize yourself and you feel like you're energetically protecting yourself to a certain extent. This is that moment for a lot of the masculine energy that goes, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for me to try to put these together? Like it's almost because that is that feeling of almost making yourself energetically whole, right? Like that is that feeling of saying, oh my goodness, trying to combine the intimacy with the authenticity. It feels so hard because it requires so much softness. It requires so much authenticity. It is literally the articulation of putting one's heart on one's sleeve. So we see that for a lot of the masculine energy trying to do this is almost like an internal journey that a lot of the masculine energy is experiencing right now in separation. Feminine energy, in separation, you could be seeing a masculine struggling with this. But I have to stress, a feminine energy, seeing a masculine energy trying to do this, I gotta stress, if a feminine energy sees a masculine that's at least trying to do this is the feminine energy going, like this is the feminine energy being like, oh good, because that is the moment of seeing the struggle point. But it's not a struggle point pushing away from the feminine. It's feeling like a mask. It's a difference between seeing or having a conversation with someone that feels like someone is resisting and pushing you away versus someone being like, I am trying to tell you something that is very hard for me to say. Those are different things, and feminine can tell the difference between the energy that is resistance, that says, I don't want to do a hard thing, I'm going to project it out onto you, versus a masculine saying, I'm going to do something that's very difficult for me to do, which is combine the authenticity with the intentionality, and you just got to give me a minute because that's very hard to do. So for the feminine energy, being in conversations with a masculine like this in separation, this could feel like a bit of an energetic breakthrough, because this is the feminine energy saying, okay, don't hurt, like don't strain yourself. The fact that you're like, this is the feminine energy going, if I see you doing that is wonderful, because that is a sign of someone that is trying to energetically heal. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the energy of the feminine feeling and experiencing a masculine that's not only learned how to do that, but is doing so, like getting better and better at it, if you will. Because what is happening right now for the masculine energy and the feminine energy coming into divine union, this is a masculine energy that's already done that. This is the masculine and feminine energy trying to blend their worlds together. What happens when you have to blend your worlds together? Well, you have to let some stuff go, right? Like that's that moment, like when you make something that is new, the two elements that created it they need to become one thing. So those at the same time, that is the energy of something ending in the process of something else beginning right now. But what is happening right now for the energy coming into divine union? It feels like a happy surrender. This is the energy saying, woohoo! Like, because that's that moment. It feels hard because you're trying to like blend your lives together. And you're also recognizing, and that's the nostalgia point, you're surrendering parts of your life in the process, because that's that moment of taking something and making it one that allows for that easement point and letting go of what may have existed, that past energy of the life that you had prior to doing that work. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is now some of the heaviest energy. And I mean, it's like really like amplified right now on top and bottom, and the center's kind of got the sweet spot right now, because for the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is that moment that feels like a lot of self-assessment in relationality to how that moment, how you are experiencing things presently. And some of it needs to be the amplification point. And that's why we see so much of this energy feels like it's coming from a place of energetic discernment, if you will. Because this is that moment that we're seeing that feels energetically like you're looking towards someone and saying, are we experiencing something in the same way? Is this a moment or modality where you're feeling excitement moving forward, or are you feeling too much anxiety? Because even now we see that these energies have become so good at navigating forward together that this is almost that energetic check-in point that we're seeing that is occurring to say, I know you're good. I know you're good. I know you know how to do this. I know we know how to do this. I know that we're continuing forward in this way. But are you feeling that sense? Are you feeling that amplification of energetic joy as we move towards our manifestation goals? Or are you experiencing and carrying with you anxiety? Because it's almost, again, that reminder of saying, I hate to break it to you, but if you're moving towards your manifestation goals and you're feeling miserable, you're going to get your manifestation goal and you're just going to be as miserable there. Like the energetic feeling does not shift depending on the locationality of the manifestation. We see here that is that difference of discernment that's happening for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union that is amplifying the difference between what can be, tangibly changed versus what needs to be internally navigated. And we see that this is some very discerning stuff that's happening right now in the heart of the divine union, because that is that moment of really requiring that inner work to amplify that feeling and to say to oneself, am I in a place of energetic contentment? And is that contentment something that is missing within myself? Or is it something that I can ascertain and make it easier with some of the outside or external situations around me? That is that incredibly important moment in terms of recognizing the difference between something that would make something easier versus something that you're clinging on to because of the sake or the feeling that it, like, your energy relies upon it, if you will. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 7 of Cups. And this is why we see right now, what's interesting about this is for the energy in the divine union frequency. This is that moment that feels like the amplification of directionality. A lot of this potentially has to do with the fact that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, a lot of this has to do with like this path work of energetic discernment right now. There's a lot of different directions that we see that a lot of the energy in the divine union is effectively or energetically considering at this time. And what is happening, what do we see? What did I just say is happening right now? A lot of the conversations potentially happening in the divine union is, again, that recognition or that amplification that things externally can always change. Things can be made easier. Things can be made more difficult. The things external outside of ourselves ebb and flow. How we internally navigate them, where we are energetically, that is how we keep our ship right. So we see to a certain extent a lot of this energy going through this process of, again, even navigating how much one is energetically changed from the time of entering the divine union to where you find yourself now, to basically say, are you still navigating from that space or place? Does this bring energetic joy to you to have all of that intensity, to have something like growing bigger? Because we see here that a lot of this feels like that energetic accumulation that occurs very frequently in the heart of the divine union frequency. Is this something that is bringing, like, is this sparking joy, or is it creating anxiety? Is that something that feels like it is creating that sense of happiness as you're experiencing it? Or is it becoming a place that's starting to feel like it is constrictive and amplifying the anxiety? Because that is the energetic equivalent right now that we see that the energy in the divine union is trying to say, and coming into a point of energetic compassion, of wanting to say, the difference between, again, a lot of this energy saying, I can handle something, And someone being like, well, that's the thing. You shouldn't have to be in a space of feeling like you can handle something, because handling something and enjoying that as you do so are two different things. And that's why we see a lot of the energy in this modality is almost looking towards one another with a state or space of discernment, saying, are you enjoying that journey, or are you handling it? Because that is the difference between looking at something and saying, I enjoy the craft, I enjoy the ability of moving towards my manifestation goals with a sense of happiness and abundance, like the joy is here, the manifestation goal is extra, versus the energy that is feeling that anxiety or feeling the amplification of that. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, this is that energetic feeling of excitement being expressed. This is why this energy was able to navigate through circumstances or situations that, like we said, may have started to feel energetically overwhelming to a certain extent, that would have led to energy falling into separation. This is energy that welcomed that energetic intensity, didn't allow themselves to self-sabotage away from something or have the energy around them pull them away from it. This is instead that moment of the energy recognizing and feeling like that sense. This is the energy. These are energies that are willingly, joyfully surrendering the past version of self to be able to blend their energetic lives together, recognizing that whatever they let go of is being returned to them by the new energetic opportunities of doing so creates, right? We let go of one thing, we accept another. And this is what happens when we move into the divine union frequency. That is that moment that, again, you see, like that's that willing, energetic surrender of the past self, of the past version of self, to welcome in the new opportunities and abundance that lie in the future. So this is that moment that could be feeling like a lot of energetic catharsis point, because this is an energy that isn't still holding a little bit of like, nostalgia or grief for what they're letting go of, but it's that perfect balance. Look at this perfect balance that we're seeing right now between that holding space of letting go and also welcoming in new, like creating that energetic channel, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This modality that we're effectively seeing right now, this is the energy in separation, going through that same process. And even now we see that for a lot of I got to stress, for the feminine energy, this is very difficult, because we see that for the feminine energy in separation, this is the moment that you may be feeling like you're closing something down energetically, or you're willing to let something go before it even starts, because this is the feminine energy looking towards the masculine in separation. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, of the feminine saying, you have to make some kind of energetic choice here. There's something about, and I have to stress right now, got to make sure you guys understand this. This is not a feminine energy. I got to stress this. I got to clear this up, because I can already see it. This is not a feminine energy looking towards masculine energy in separation and saying, you need to energetically choose me. This isn't the feminine energy. I got to clear this up. I can already hear it. This isn't the feminine energy saying you have to choose me. This is the feminine energy saying you have to know what direction you're headed in. You have to be able to articulate what it is that you're seeking from an ideal feminine connection. This is literally the feminine energy, even potentially trying to say this right now to masculine, saying that this isn't a moment that is the amplification of a feminine saying you either choose me or there's no path work forward for us. This is the feminine energy going, I understand. I'm in the process of, this is the feminine energy literally saying to masculine in separation, I am also in the process of energetically choosing. But the difference is being able to recognize that the difference of understanding and saying, I know what direction I aspire to go into. I know what I am proposing that I want to build with a masculine. This is what I want it to look like. This is the shape of it. These are my these are my plans. This is the feminine energy almost saying to masculine, you come towards me with honesty. That's great. What do those plans look like? Do you have those plans? Because this is the feminine energy looking towards the masculine, almost saying again to the masculine, the only thing that's going to create a blocker in terms of going forward is if you're coming towards me and you don't seem like you know what you want, because that's the feminine saying you had a plan prior to meeting me. It's not like you've just been wandering the earth Like, oh, there they are. It's like this is the feminine going, you have to have this. This is the feminine going, you either, and if you don't, this is literally the feminine in separation going like, if you don't have this, well, that's a big issue. And the feminine energy also saying to a certain extent, or this is the feminine energy going, or you do and you don't want to talk to me about it. Feminine's almost saying again to masculine in separation, doesn't matter which one of that is. Both of them don't allow for a viable path forward. So we see even now, this is feminine energy that's basically saying to masculine, like, even now, putting a little bit of distance there, being like, you seem like you're still not sure what you want. Like, you seem like you're still not sure what you want. And that's the feminine saying, that's okay, but that means, like, that's almost feminine saying to a certain extent, like, I can't navigate forward with you if you're coming towards me like that. But when you know, let me know, almost energetically. Masculine, you could be feeling like you're having this conversation right now with feminine energy and separation. I need to stress if this is happening right now. Masculine, don't get confused if a feminine's having this conversation with you. This isn't a feminine energy that's saying you have to choose them. This is a feminine energy saying you have to have a plan. Like, you have to know what it is that you want, regardless of the energy of the person. So we see even now for a lot of the masculine energy, this is that sense of anxiety, because this is almost showing me that a lot of the masculine energy right now, having that modality, this is a lot of that internal work that's happening. This is a lot of that moment. There's authenticity and there's authenticity. Telling someone what you aspire for is a deepening level of vulnerability. It's hard stuff. I told you, it's hard stuff. It feels very vulnerable to do so. But how else can you have what you aspire and desire if you aren't able to articulate what that is? So we see even now a lot of the masculine energy. This is a lot of that internal journeying that's happening right now. And a lot of it is requiring the masculine to do this internal work within, really trying to, again, energetically combine that sense of self, that authenticity, with your intentionality. A lot of masculine energy is not even doing this with the feminine. They're doing it internally to try to decide which direction to go towards. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, fourth card in our 5-card spread. This is why. Because there's a difference right now for masculine energy, even now. And this is the masculine, I have to say, for both of these energies right now in healing, there's a moment of energetically catching yourself. Both of the energies are basically saying, I'm doing it again. Or, oh, I'm about to do it again, right? This is the energies catching themselves in the process of about to like repeat an energetic cycle. This is valuable. It's hard when we catch ourselves in these moments because we're going, no. I've already done this before. I'm not going to do it that way. Feminine energy is almost having that ability, saying, oh, well, maybe. Feminine's already going, oh, they're so confused. Like, look at them. They're like a little lost puppy. Maybe if no, this is feminine going, no. This is the feminine energy going, I can't. That doesn't lead. This is the feminine energy immediately self-correcting themselves in separation if they're feeling like that, because this is the feminine energy saying, I can't create that for the masculine. I can't give them that, because when I do, this is masculine energy that won't feel like they chose that path for themselves. They will effectively or energetically one day resent me for putting them on a path if they don't energetically like it. This is why we see even now, this is feminine energy almost looking toward the masculine and saying they got to want it. They got to decide that they want to move in that direction, because this is the feminine energy almost catching themselves and saying, if I don't give them the chance to move with intentionality, they will forever feel like I got them off their path. And that could work positively, but this is the feminine energy saying at the same time, that confusion doesn't go away. It's just that I bring them on my path and they're still looking in that sense of confusion, because like they're just energetically following on the path that I'm laying. So that's why we see even now, this is feminine energy saying, you need to work with me. You need to show me. This is feminine energy saying, you have to show me that you want what I want. You have to be able to articulate what that is. This is a feminine energy saying it doesn't even have to be the same exact thing, but it needs to at least exist there within you in some way, shape, or fashion, so we recognize that we're moving in this direction together. Masculine energy, you may be experiencing this right now. This is masculine energy saying to themselves, well, I don't want to, if I move with intentionality, then then what if it doesn't go well? What if they don't want what I want? What if they say no? What if they change? I'm doing it. I'm catching myself, right? If this is a masculine energy that's starting to let all of those little doubts and fears of possibility of what could potentially happen, if you're moving towards someone with intentionality, you're catching yourself doing it. You're saying, I'm doing it again. I'm building a world of illusion around the feminine. I'm trying to anticipate the outcome with the feminine, and I'm trying to adjust what I say to the feminine in order to navigate towards that. I'm doing it again. This is the feminine and masculine energy saying, I can't fake that. I cannot fake what I want with the feminine. I need to energetically tell them. And that's why we see that this is the masculine energy in separation right now, doing that difficult work of trying to ascertain what that direction is, because this is potentially the masculine energy recognizing that when you don't offer yourself in a direction to one thing, you lose everything. You don't move anywhere with anyone. You just stay in you stay in like this shallow space where everyone keeps this energetic distance from you because they feel like you're not being authentic in terms of your own intentionality. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency, this is the masculine having gone through that internal battle, but having made that an energetic choice. And even now we see that these energies, both of these energies, making that intentional choice towards one another is a moment that feels like, in a way, you're energetically surrendering that past version of self. You're letting go of things. Things are adjusting. Things are changing. Is this energy upset about it? No. Look, letting things go. Why? Look at all the opportunity. Look at everything that opens up. Doors closing, new doors opening. That is that moment that feels like that amplification point. And this energy has that point of energetic nostalgia, but it doesn't feel like it's energy that's looking back, trying to rush back towards it. This is energy that is looking towards the past with a sense of nostalgia, potentially even utilizing it right now to help make the decisions going forward. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the divine union frequency. The challenge here that we're energetically seeing to a certain extent is in the fact that this is a moment of ascertaining and feeling the weight of how much that amplification of your own path work has become. This is energy that's been together for so much time. There's so much like this integration of path that it's becoming this like point of energetic expansion. And this is that moment that we're feeling that intensity in terms of something getting bigger, and having to have that energetic check-in with the counterpart energy to say, is this still moving in that direction that feels like it's creating that sense of excitement for you? Or is this something that you just feel like you're energetically handling? Because that is a very fine-tuned machine, that feeling of, again, that excitement, that amplification, something you can't energetically fake. It's just something that you feel like you're in alignment with, versus something that feels like it's becoming too overwhelming. Right? Something that you're just bearing, something that you're just, like white knuckling through, if you will. This is that moment of, again, almost looking towards counterpart and saying, are we in the same place? Are you still moving from that space of joy? Is this something that feels more like a situational problem if there's intensity here? Or is this speaking more towards something that needs to be internally navigated? Because that is the energetic difference between, again, feeling that sense of easement that a manifestation goal may bring, versus feeling that disharmony within the self, that when you move towards your manifestation goal, it's not like the manifestation goal fixes that disharmony. That's that moment of recognizing everywhere you go, there you energetically are. So we see even now there's that moment that feels like that discernment in terms of those two different things, if you will, to say, is there something here that you're experiencing that feels like intensity that can be tangibly corrected for? Or is this speaking more towards something that is internal, that it isn't finding a satisfaction point in what is externally around you? Those are very different things. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is Page of Cups. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is that amplification point, and we see that there's that moment that speaks towards a lot of that feeling of energetic contentment, right? Because that's that moment that we almost see that a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is having and recognizing, that says when we move with intentionality, That is that moment that we understand and recognize that we move with intentionality because we find joy in the movement of doing so. That to move in that way brings us energetic joy, right? That is when we feel like we are in energetic alignment, when we surrender the outcome to a certain extent, because the act of moving in that direction brings us energetic joy. So what we see that is happening right now is that moment, even now, for a lot of this energy that's continuing forward into divine union frequency, that feels like that sense of looking towards the exact present, feeling the amplification of what you're feeling. That is that eclipse energy coming into play and saying, does that feel like, is this a moment that you feel energetically content? Or is it bringing up something that feels like it is creating that anxiety point? Because that's the difference between moving towards manifestation goals while understanding that that is not something, your feelings, your energetic feelings don't change if you move into a manifestation goal. You're still the same person. Being able to carry that with you is something that is internal. So we see even now that there's that moment for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency that's saying, are you happy in that vibration? Is this a place or space that we find that you're experiencing that joy? And if not, that is something that needs to be corrected for. That is something that needs to be navigated, because that is, again, the difference between energy that feels like they are joyfully moving forward on their path versus feeling that energetic reluctance of handling a path. You know, feeling like they're doing it, but they're not necessarily, your heart isn't energetically in it. So we see even now that a lot of this energy right now is trying to amplify, like those conversations are trying to amplify the joy in the present moment. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union frequency. This is that feeling. This is that feeling. This is that breakthrough point of, again, feeling the energetic shift of what you're letting go of to be able to combine or blend your life with another. Feeling, again, at the same time, recognizing the process of both release and receiving, things closing around you, new opportunities opening up in terms of how you can move together. This is that moment that you are looking back towards the past, but you're looking back towards the past not with a sense of like desiring to go back there, but feeling that sense of contentment, because it's almost like now you're looking at those past experiences almost like the energetic toolbox, you know, that's helping lay that path of easement going forward. Again, not the fact that one would aspire or desire for something not to go right, but having that moment of saying, wow, there's something that I experienced or had that happened that can lend me a lot of insight. Some people would call that wisdom. And that wisdom is now almost like the tool that can be applied to continue to move forward in that sense of happiness going forward. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see so much of this energy right now is going through what feels like, and I have to stress this right now, it feels a little freewheeling to a certain extent, because if you're doing this, it is a little freewheeling, because this is like you freestyling, you're breaking out of your own patterns, right? You're like, nope, we're not doing that again, right? A lot of the energy, the one thing about masculine and feminine energy is this resounding feeling that's happening in separation, catching oneself at a moment where you may like feel like the opportunity to repeat some kind of energetic cycle is here, because this is that moment that we're energetically seeing to a certain extent of, like, again, feminine potentially seeing a masculine coming towards them from a state of energetic confusion, feeling that sense of being like, well, maybe if I no, like I could, but if no, like just stopping themselves and being like, but they seem lost. And feminine's being like, it is not my energetic responsibility to give the masculine energy direction. This is the feminine saying, I have to do this. I gotta stress, do you see how hard it is for the feminine energy to do this right now in separation? Do you see how difficult this is? Do you see how much the feminine energy is like, well, maybe I could get, no. This is the feminine energy, like being like, but if I, no. This is feminine going, I can't, and this is the feminine energy, again, like looking towards a masculine, because this is a feminine energy going, that person's got a map. They've got a map. This isn't someone who just like appeared. This is the feminine saying they have to have that energetic map. And if they don't have the energetic map, they have to be drawing the energetic map. They have to be able to at least talk about what they're hoping to move towards right now, because this is the feminine energy, just seeing the fact that even at a point that someone may be having an energetic breakthrough, someone could be on the path of healing, but get a little confused on the healing journey, right? This is the feminine energy, seeing the masculine in that modality. And again, desperately wanting to like rush in and kind of do that work to energetically help the masculine, but almost doing that resilient, tough love and being like, I gotta let them find their own path. If that path is if they tell me they're moving in my direction, if we're both going like that way, they'll be the first one to tell me, right? Because if not, this is the feminine energy saying, I can't be in a place or space where either someone is intentionally just leaving themselves open to whatever possibility they come across, because that's an energy that's almost saying, I want to stay in the shallow end. I want to just be in the place of like immediate light experiences. Or this is an energy that's looking to just, that doesn't know what they want, and they may effectively energetically resent me if they feel like they just follow in my energetic footsteps. So we see even now, this is the feminine energy doing this from a sake of being like, again, it's hard for the feminine to do this, but it feels like that moment of saying older and wiser. Masculine energy in this modality right now, this is that moment that you're potentially going through. I'm seeing here some kind of internal energetic crisis point for a lot. Breakthroughs and crisis, they look a lot like the same thing. It just depends on what you do with them. So we see even now that a lot of this masculine energy right now, there's something that we're identifying that is recognizing your own patterns. What happens when you recognize your own pattern? Are you going to repeat it? Or are you going to try to break through it? Because we see even now that this is the masculine energy. If there's a moment that you're feeling that authenticity, but then you're feeling like that need to be able to have to like bring intentionality to something, but then you're saying, but if I'm intentional, that limits my energetic options on what I can do, because then if I tell the feminine that I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again, right? The minute the masculine goes, well, if I do that, the minute you say if, the minute you had to add the word if energetically to something, is the minute that you're no longer building authentically with the feminine. Because that's that moment that you're effectively, again, you're trying to not just build openly with the feminine and let the feminine build with you. That's a moment that you're trying to control the energetic environment by adjusting how you're communicating with the feminine. You see how that works? So we see even now a lot of the masculine energy is almost catching themselves in the process of trying to work through something and saying, I'm doing it again. I got to, and even now we see that that's that moment that we see masculine energy is at that point of trying to navigate and say to themselves, what is it that I truly want? To be able to break through what is starting to feel like some kind of energetic cycle, right? Because we see even now there's a moment here that this is that point. And I gotta stress right now, I can see it already. It depends on where you energetically fall right now from masculine energy. Because I can see right now, even that ability to do so right now, this is that masculine. I can see a lot of the masculine energy trying to identify whether there's something here. Okay, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing masculine energy falling into one of the two different modalities. This is masculine energy that wants to break through an energetic cycle that they've grown weary of. Or this is masculine energy wanting to be open towards feminine about what they truly desire, but feeling the anxiety point in terms of how it will be energetically received. And I'm going to say the same thing in both contexts for all of the masculine energy in that modality. You don't find what you're looking for unless you can articulate what you want. You'll never find energy that's in alignment with you unless you lead with a place of authenticity and clarity. The only way you get what you're looking for is if you're able to ask for it. And that we see that a lot of the masculine energy is some of that maturation process, because that's the difference between trying to like navigate around an energy to get what you want versus being able to build with an energy to have everything you could desire. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our 10 of Swords in combination with our 2 of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. That's the difference that's happening right now. And a lot of the energy in separation. This is really beautiful because this is that moment, even now, for a lot of the masculine energy right now, not wanting to be misunderstood, not wanting to repeat an energetic cycle, not wanting to build around someone, wanting to build with someone. When you want to build with someone, you need to marry. You need to marry intentionality and authenticity. There is no other way to go around it. The only way that you can move into divine union is if you learn the ability within yourself to blend your authenticity with your intentionality. And that is the easiest and the hardest thing to do. Because it sounds really easy, it is the hardest thing to do, because that is something that you must do internally. No one can bring you to that point, and you will not be ready to be in union with another until you can have that point from within. Feminine is recognizing and identifying that too. This could even be a feminine energy that is identifying and recognizing the masculine energy coming from a point of energetic confusion. And the feminine is now looking towards the masculine saying, have you figured out how to do this yet? Have you learned how to energetically do this? The feminine energy recognizing and saying, I can't get the masculine to do that. I cannot, there's nothing I can do to control the environment through which the masculine energy, in fact, meeting the masculine and moving forward with the masculine before they've learned to do this solidifies the fact that they never will. This is why we see that a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now is feeling the frustration point, potentially meeting and experiencing some masculine energy that's gotten one half of it. They're trying to lead forth from the feminine from a place of openness and clarity, but they haven't gotten the energy to merge with being able to articulate what their intentionality is. So this is the feminine energy going, I'm sorry, but you're at the wrong castle. You haven't figured out how to, you don't have it together yet. You haven't put the two pieces together. And this is the feminine going, you have to do that within. And until you do that within, there can't be anything without. Because if you can't do that within, if you can't merge your intentionality and your authenticity together within yourself, how can I ever expect to receive it from you? That's why we see a lot of that energy right now. Holding space, holding back, and feeling frustration, because this is feminine energy, seeing some energy around them that they would like to potentially move forward with. Looking towards the masculine in separation, saying, have you figured out how to do this yet? Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the energy that's already done so, and now you're doing it on the external. You're combining your energy together from a place of authenticity and intentionality, like you're just doing it on the outside, what you happen to do on the inside, because these are the energies that recognize that they had to come into that space of being able to come into that sense or level or degree of intimacy to be able to reach that level with the energy around them. And that's that moment of understanding, if there wasn't alignment in the past, that's potentially because you weren't working in, and you either were not ready to do so for yourself, or the energy that you were with wasn't ready to do it with you because they hadn't learned to do it for themselves either. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that modality that feels like the energetic expansion point that a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is experiencing right now. That's that moment of energetic expansion that occasionally starts to lead to energetic separation. What happens when we expand something? It starts to feel a little bit like there's additional pressure being put on it, right? So we see even now that this is why so much of this energy right now in the heart of the divine union is utilizing a lot of heightened discernment to be able to look at something and say, are we still moving forward in that state or space? Do we still have that same energetic connection? Are we still in the same place energetically? And when I say in the same place energetically, I don't mean the external environment. I mean the internal environment, saying, where are you internally? Are we still in the same energetic space? Because that's that moment of feeling the difference of moving with someone, but starting to feel energetically distant. And that is being articulated by looking at circumstances and situations and having that difficult conversation and saying, do you feel the amplification at this point of energetic excitement? Or is that a moment that you're feeling like that overwhelming sense of anxiety? Because one is the expression of enjoying the intensity, and the other is one in feeling the not enjoying the intensity, right? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Pentacles in combination with our Seven of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? clarification coming through right now with our Two of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy that is in the divine union frequency. This is why it is so difficult, because we see even now that a lot of the energy that's navigating forward from this point, like I just keep seeing the fact that the energy in the divine union frequency, there's a lot energetically happening. I told you, a lot of this energy in the divine union frequency, it's like a load-bearing weight. Like there's a lot of pressure that's put on this type of energy. There's a lot of things that need to it's like I want to describe this as like, it's almost like a juggling act where someone's like throwing like more and more things in like balls at you. So what happens with that, that's either that moment that you're either like laughing, you're like, this is hilarious, this is fun, you're enjoying it, you're finding that sense of excitement in it, or it can be that moment of like anxiety, of like disharmony, right? Like how one experiences something is all about the amplification of how you are experiencing something. It's not something that it's not something that someone can facilitate the change on externally, right? It's something that only exists within you. And in either context, I need to stress this, none of that is energetically wrong. That's why we see so much that effort or that point of energetic discernment, if you will, that is occurring right now in relationality to looking towards things and saying, are you in that space or place that this feels like it is a place of energetic comfort for you? Is this something that feels like you're moving towards things are expanding and you're feeling that energetic joy? Or is this moment that you're experiencing that overwhelm of anxiety that says that something is not where you energetically desire to be? That ability to navigate and almost hold compassion in the heart of the divine union frequency is almost that expression point of saying we can be experiencing the same things, but how we're experiencing them can be very, very different. So we see even now that ability to energetically recognize that is what's happening right now, which is why we see that so much of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency right now is trying to utilize such a heightened degree of energetic discernment to tell the difference of basically saying, what are you experiencing? Be honest. And no, don't be compassionate in the sense that you don't want to burden me with how you're feeling. Tell me energetically how you truly are feeling. So we see even now that is a little bit of hard work right now, even for the energy in the divine union frequency. Now, masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency, you're feeling this. You're feeling it. It's the amplification point of feeling the robust joy of what you're building forth at this time, contentment. But there's also a little bit of weight on that contentment. I know it is. I can see it here. That weight is typical. If you're feeling that, that doesn't mean that you're moving in the wrong direction. That is that moment of understanding and recognizing the energetic surrender that's required as we move forward. That effectively, what happens when we move forward, even at that point that feels like it's the energetically right place for us, or that sense of energetic abundance. It feels like we're closing a door as we're energetically opening new doors. So even now, that weight, that energetic weight that you're experiencing, that doesn't mean energetically that you're moving in the wrong direction. It's that moment of personal catharsis that one reaches at a time that is the amplification point of feeling like the robust joy that you're experiencing, with also that lingering sense of that's when true closure occurs. True closure occurs in that moment that you observe that you're not putting all of your attention on it, right? It's a quiet door. It's a quiet door when it shuts. It's not a slam. Closure isn't the door slamming. It is the door that closes so quietly that you almost don't notice it, but you feel it lingering to a certain extent. So we see even now that feeling is what is happening right now for a lot of the energy moving deeper into the heart of the divine union frequency, right? Masculine and feminine energy that are in separation. This is what is so difficult right now for a lot of the energy in separation, masculine and feminine. A lot of possibilities now opening up. But this door from the past, it's not that far behind. It's not that far behind. You're caught. You see, you're stuck. You're in that minute. You're between both to a certain extent. And that's why we see even now this energy is so trepidatious about not inadvertently, unintentionally repeating a pattern that has been recognized that you're trying to heal from. Because this is that moment of utilizing that very close proximity from the past experience that is creating that hypersensitivity in the present moment to make sure that you don't repeat that energetic lesson. So masculine and feminine, you're both kind of going through that, and it could feel like a little bit of that energetic conflict right now. I'm going to say the same thing that I said for the energy in the heart of the divine union, the amplification of anxiety or excitement, depending on how you're trying to energetically carry it. Because we see that a lot of this energy right now is trying to navigate this from a place of holding space for this being that feeling of energetic excitement. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Seven of Cups in combination with our Five of Swords in its reversal. One card, clarify. We've got here our Star card. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union and in separation. This is why we are recognizing this is such difficult work right now. Feminine energy in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. A lot of this feminine energy in separation is just coming back into a state or space where you're feeling like you're coming back into your own authentic expression of self. This is feminine energy that's doing a lot of this right now in separation. And that ability to find that sense of energetic comfort, if you will, has been creating a sense of energetic clarity in terms of being able to, again, look at the past. We're starting to see here, we keep seeing that moment, being able to almost look now towards some energy that you may have been avoiding from the past with the clarity of perspective of the present that is now amplifying your own ability to discern how to navigate going forward. So this is now, again, that moment. This is the moment of feminine in separation. Now, I'm not going to say that this is feminine energy that feels like grateful to be able to have a kind of energetic lesson of that magnitude, because that was an energy that has like a hard fought lesson here, something that was very energetically difficult to learn. But that's the feminine energy, utilizing that power of energetic discernment, looking towards the past to amplify the choice going forward. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is that recognition point that you're potentially having right now. If you're trying to lead forth with an authentic energetic connection, you may be seeing a new authentic side of feminine that you haven't seen before. Because feminine energy acts as a mirror. Feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on a gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If you put falsehood in front of a mirror, you're going to get falsehood back. If you bring a lie in front of the feminine energy, you'll probably get a lie back. What's happening though right now with a lot of the feminine energy is that ability is not coming into a space of wanting to energetically reflect. This is more of a feminine energy just coming into a space of not even navigating anything that feels like it would require that level or degree of energetic reflection. This is not feminine energy that wants to match. This is not feminine energy that wants to match energy at this time. This is feminine energy that's just choosing to move away from anything that doesn't feel like it's meeting the feminine's own level or degree of transparency. So we see even now the problem or the hurdle for some masculine energy, if you're on that healing journey, is when you need to move towards someone that's moving in a place of complete transparency. It requires complete transparency from your own self. And you're recognizing and identifying how quickly you'll be moved away from someone if they sense that you're coming towards them with that level or degree of falsehood. But we see even now, like, that's why your own intentionality must be pure and must be clear in relationality to wanting to build forth with the feminine. Because that's that moment of understanding, like, this is the masculine being like, if I don't lead forth with honesty towards a true feminine energy that's operating from a sense of their own honesty and vulnerability, I will be shot down. I will be shot down. They will see through it. They will see through it. They always see through it. So we see that this is the masculine energy saying, I need to move towards feminine with that intentionality. Because if I don't, I am done before I even begin. They read me the minute I walk. They'll read me the minute I walk in the room. The minute I'm there, they've got me notated the minute they walk in, notated in my book. This is the masculine energy saying, I need to be able to understand this within myself because I know that I cannot energetically fake it with the feminine. I don't want to fake it because I'm on a healing journey. And also I'm recognizing that when I think, even if I tried to fake it, the feminine can see it and they hold it against you. And it's like done before you even begin. So we see even now that is that moment, or that is that ideal that we are seeing here, that is energetically happening to a certain degree, that a lot of the masculine energy is navigating right now, that is requiring that sense of being able to find one's own self. Because again, finding one's own self and knowing and being able to lead forth with that intentionality and with that clarity is what allows you to be able to come into alignment with the counterpart. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, you've done this energetic work. You've done that work of finding one's own self. I told you, what did the feminine energy see in the part of the masculine? The ability to match, to be ability to find within themselves, to be able to blend authenticity with intentionality. Feminine not trying to create a space, the masculine to learn to do that. The masculine coming towards the feminine, having already learned how to do that. These are now energies that are doing it on the external level, within their own, like outside of the self, because you learned how to do it from within. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, what we're energetically seeing and recognizing to a certain extent, is that space and place right now for a lot of the energy that is coming into, that's in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that moment that feels like the amplification point of energetic discernment, if you will, because what we're effectively seeing right now for a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is that feeling, that feeling of energetic expansion, if you will. It's intense. It's intense. And that's why we even see now, and we saw that even the feminine energy wanting to kind of hold things at a point of like stability, masculine wanting to lead forward right now. What are these energies doing right now to ascertain and assess where they are energetically, looking towards each other and saying, and this is why we see even now, this could feel like a little bit of that like difficulty point in the energy of in the divine union. This is almost, again, that moment of feminine saying, are you trying to move forward right now because you're feeling disharmony in the present? Or is that excitement on where we're going? And that's masculine looking towards feminine saying, do you want to stay in the present because of anxiety about where we're going, feeling disharmony in the present? You see both of these energies almost having that point of energetic recalibration, checking in, if you will, to recognize the difference of feeling energetic contentment and wanting to build forth on it versus feeling energetic dissatisfaction and wanting to run away from something. Those things look very similar. That's why we need to make sure that we're on the same energetic page. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Page of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Moon card in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is requiring a lot of that honesty, a lot of that energetic clarity. It's hard work to be clear. It's hard work to be honest with one another. But that is that moment that feels like the amplification of being able to recognize, to see where you are in the present moment, to reference the past experience, looking towards the past, not from a sense or space of wanting to return to it. But again, being able to take something and utilize it and put it into practical application presently, to be able to utilize that to help serve the present moment. So we see even now a lot of that energy almost reaching into their own toolboxes, if you will, to energetically help one another as they proceed forward from this point. Energy of masculine and feminine coming into divine union You're doing the same exact thing, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. You're doing the same exact thing. And the only difference is the fact that this is that moment. It just depends on how well you know the energy, counterpart energy that you're doing this work with. The energy in separation is utilizing this to discern the new connections. The energy in separation is utilizing this to discern the new connections that feel like there's a sense of authenticity there. Masculine, this is finding that sense of purpose within you. And even now, I have to stress, this is the masculine energy. It's not about, again, it's not about the direction that you want to head into. Every direction is a valuable direction, so long as you're clear and honest about what it is that you energetically want. That is a lot of like the nut that like some of the masculine energy is trying to crack right now in separation. And it feels so difficult because that's the masculine energy that feels like to do so, it's like you're revealing some side of yourself that feels very intimate. Like that's what happens when we try to build an intimate connection with someone. It requires us to have to be very intimate. So we see a lot of the masculine energy doing a lot of work on that, like peeling back their own layers, if you will, within the self to try to be able to do that in the expression of offering it to another to build a connection. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Cups and its reversal. Double twos again, man. We had double twos yesterday. We got triple twos here. What am I talking about? We got triple twos here. Heavy on the twos right now. Earlier this week, we had heavy on the threes. The last 2 days, it's been heavy on the twos. There's our three. There's our three. We've got here our Three of Pentacles coming through because that's what happens, right? The ability to navigate forward, to be able to make that choice, it creates that feeling of energetic foundation, right? What did I just say? Any decision is the right decision, so long as it feels like it's the right decision for you. Moving in that space of uncertainty is what creates that feeling of like being confused on the path work. Right? So we see even now, for a lot of the energy in separation, this is that moment. I just keep telling you, the energy in separation is almost like you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. It doesn't matter what that plan is. This is almost the energy, especially the feminine energy in separation, that's almost manifesting and saying, I'm manifesting masculine energy that has a plan. Because the feminine energy has a plan. The problem right now is the feminine energy is just not in a space or place of wanting to lead forth with that plan unless they see the fact that the masculine is also willing to do so. Right? The feminine always has it. The feminine is almost like in that modality of being like, I need to see that the masculine has one too. I need them to be able to articulate on what they aspire and desire for. And this is literally the feminine energy in separation saying, if you don't have a plan, don't come to the door. Like this is the energy saying like you need to come here and have that to be able to come towards the feminine, right? Because this is the feminine energy saying that is like this is the feminine almost looking to masculine being like, if you're coming towards me with authenticity but without a plan, then it's fine. We're just going to be friends. Like we'll just be energetic friends. Like this is feminine energy being like, that's fine. That's a feminine going like, I'll be there for you, but I'll help you through your energetic confusion. Because I can't create that plan for you. I've got my own plan. And this is the feminine energy again saying, I would love to do my homework with you, but I need to see the fact that you actually do homework, right? Masculine energy in separation right now. This is that modality that we see that for a lot of the masculine energy. This could be feeling like a lot of internal journeying right now as you try to find that within yourself. But even now, that moment that like, again, it's hard for the masculine energy to do so because this is that difference about, again, when you leave yourself open for anything, you energetically end up with nothing, right? Because this is that moment of the masculine energy feeling even now that sense of frustration of saying, well, if I decide to do this, then what about all those other possibilities? Yeah, they go away. That's how it works. But even doing so, like having that ability to navigate through this right now, this is the masculine energy doing that important work of being able to lead forward instead of just leaving oneself available to anything. So we see a lot of this energy right now, utilizing a lot of that ability and that desire to build forth from a place of clarity with feminine to help them figure out like what they want within themselves. Like that is that personal journey of saying, like, what is it that I truly desire and aspire for? That then the feminine masculine can like lead forward with. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union. This is the energy that's already done so. This is that firming up right now of a lot of the energetic commitments that are coming into divine union right now. And it's that moment that, again, it feels like that stabilization point that is coming in. And it's almost that moment of observation on what you're energetically releasing or what didn't work in the past. But that's just building, that's like all, again, it's all just, it feels like it has that purpose now because it's all having practical application. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now. This is the amplification on how far you've come in the time of being in the divine union. And this is that moment that we almost identify and recognize to a certain extent. It feels like that sense or that a bit, like I told you, a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union right now almost feels like the training wheels have come off something to a certain extent, because this is that moment that's getting to the heart of what you energetically feel with another person. And it doesn't feel like it's that externalization point. If anything, this is that moment that feels like it's coming back into the center with someone and saying, are we still energetically in the same space? Do you still feel energetically confident? Are we still experiencing that moment together? Like that is that moment that feels like the fortification point that requires that moment of energetic clarity, because that is the sense of energetic compassion, looking towards someone and saying, it's not enough just that we're moving in the same direction. I want you to be energetically here with me as we do so. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Two of Wands in combination with our Star card. We've got here our Sun card in its reversal. Energy has been, like we see even now, there's something about this time right now that feels somewhat energetically heavy. There's a lot of this, energetic, I want to describe it, like that heaviness. That's that eclipse energy to a certain extent. You know, it creates that magnification point. It's really important right now. It's really important right now to remember, if you're feeling any of that energetic heaviness, that a lot of that, especially if you're not used to feeling it, it's potentially energetically temporary, right? And this is the important thing that we're seeing right now that is happening. And this is the advantage point. Remember, I told you you're going to be able to find an advantage point in relationality to doing a lot of the hard work that this eclipse is able to bring forth to a certain extent. Because this is the difference between someone looking towards something within the self and saying, I'm feeling a little bit of this energetic heaviness, but it's temporary. I know it's temporary. I know I don't typically feel like this. It's going to go away. It's going to depart, right? That's the moment of saying, I'm just, I'm having a hard week. Like that's the difference versus someone having that feeling of saying, this is something that's been within me and it has been growing and growing and growing and growing and getting worse and getting worse. Because do you see the difference between those modalities? Between someone that is going through something that is externally frustrating and feeling the externalization point of saying, this circumstance is frustrating me, versus someone who has been feeling within themselves that sense of something that has been growing and becoming more and more frustrating that they can't energetically put their finger on. That is the difference that requires different levels of energetic care. One can be practically navigated via changing the external environment that one is experiencing, i.e. the fact that something is energetically temporary, versus something that is within oneself that is energetically growing, that feels like it's creating a sense of, I told you, that unnameable anxiety that needs to be calibrated, that needs to be addressed, that needs to be managed, that needs to create a space or place of recognizing the difference between, again, moving towards a manifestation goal and feeling joy as you do so, versus moving towards a manifestation goal, and that manifestation goal is creating a sense of anxiety that's not going to depart when you reach the manifestation goal. It's just going to be the space that you find when you inhabit it. That's that moment that requires that internal calibration, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy coming into And the ability of this eclipse season, especially for the divine union, is having that energetic breakthrough point and recognizing the difference between whether that feels like the externalized frustrations around you, right? Or if it's that point of acknowledgement and saying, this is something that I need to navigate that's happening internally within me. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency. This is that modality that we are energetically seeing to a certain extent, that again, it feels like that this is going to be the externalization point of the energetic breakthrough that you're having, and feeling that sense of building that point of intimacy with another energy. Because what did we see? A lot of this energy coming into divine union right now feels like it doesn't matter what the externalized factors are. In fact, the frustration point is the amplification on these things being the external factors. It's not the fact that everything is perfect, but it is the fact of recognizing that it feels like there are things that can just be tangibly adjusted, right? And that's why we see so much of this energy right now coming into divine union, is almost having that moment of feeling like a lot of frustration right now, even as you're building a sense of like bonding with someone, because it's that moment of being like, curses, the situation around me is so frustrating, because that's that moment of, again, it's fortifying you. The frustration points aren't pulling you apart. Like these are almost moments that people in divine union, coming in divine union, are going, this is the same thing that was happening and someone was using it as an excuse why they couldn't see me or why things weren't working out between us. This is a moment that we're pulling together on and being like, oh, we're experiencing this together. We're just going to hurdle through it. Like that's a lot of the observation of the energy, being like, that's the difference of feeling like someone that like you're building with versus someone who uses a lot of the externalized situations around them as a reason why they can't build with someone. So we see even now, I told you, a lot of this work is the work of the energy, recognizing and saying, if you make it easy, I care about you, I have compassion with you, I'm building with you, because I know it's not. I know that you do things in that way because you choose to, not because, and it feels like it's easy because we are in alignment in terms of how we address them together. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine, in separation. This is a lot of that energy in separation. It's hard. This is really frustrating energy right now if you're in separation, because again, what's hard for the feminine energy is coming into a sense of energetic acceptance, right? Too much of this path work for the feminine energy in separation in the past, even now, this is that feminine looking towards someone that they feel might be an energetically perfect match, except they don't see that GPS there, and saying to themselves, oh, I can fix that. I can fix that. I just need to get in there. I just need to tinker a little bit. This is the feminine going, I can't do that. And that's what's hard, because this is where it becomes that feminine energy going through the internal journey, if you will, of saying to oneself, I need to energetically accept circumstances as they are. I just need to energetically accept something as being where they are. And if someone doesn't have that, that's not a moment of me effectively trying to go in and affect that, or have them like, or feel like it's something that may happen if I build enough of a connection with them. This is the feminine energy saying, I just need to energetically accept it. If it's not there, I need to accept that it's not there. I can't build with someone and build a connection with them and build a passionate connection with them on the hope that it will, that something that is not there will magically appear there just from being in connection with me. This is the feminine energy saying, we can't do that. This is the feminine energy saying, I can't do that, because feminine energy is now utilizing wisdom and saying, I know that moving with someone at a point of energetic confusion just pours the concrete on the confusion. This is the feminine energy saying, I don't use my own energy to convince someone the direction that they need to go into. They either want to move in the direction or they don't. And if they want to, they know where to energetically find me. Masculine energy, this is that modality that you may be recognizing right now, that a lot of the feminine energy in this modality puts energetic distance. This is why the feminine puts energetic distance here, because this is the feminine energy saying, I can't give you that map. You can't just follow in my path. You have to have your own path. This is the feminine energy. Again, the masculine, you're recognizing if there's a feminine energy you need to move towards. You have to kind of, again, you can't, and we even see this with a lot of the masculine energy here. This is almost a lot of masculine energy being like, well, I want to move in the direction of this feminine. That's not enough of a direction. That's not enough. What do you want? Like, you can't just move in the direction of a feminine, because there's something after that. There has to be something after that. It can't just be moving towards the feminine for the sake of experiencing the feminine. For a lot of the masculine energy right now, this could almost be that moment of recognizing and identifying and being like, oh, I can't just be moving towards feminine for the sake of experiencing the feminine and let the pieces fall where they may. This is the feminine energy that's almost putting energetic distance away from you, or even recognizing why some feminine energy keeps energetic distance from you in this modality. Because this is the feminine energy that's protecting their own energetic heart space. This is the feminine energy that works to like maintain and keep their energetic peace to a certain extent. So we see even now that that's that modality of masculine wanting to move towards a feminine, but realizing that authenticity, like clarity, isn't enough. You also need to be able to articulate what it is that you truly aspire and desire going forward. And it can't just be, and I have to stress this, there's a difference between saying, I want you, right? That's fine. But there's the rub. Saying I want you doesn't mean I want to build with you. That is, again, catching yourself in that modality of looking at feminine energy like it is a prize, as opposed to looking towards feminine energy like they are a partner. So we see even now that that ability for a lot of masculine to navigate forward from this point is helping to energetically unpack that. And it requires that ability to be vulnerable towards the feminine, because that is that moment that says, again, when you move towards the feminine that way, I'm not looking at you from some place of like a false, like I'm not idolizing you. I'm not creating that space where I just look at you as some kind of energetic prize. I'm looking at you as someone who I want to build and grow with. And I need to be able to articulate to you what that vision is to be able to move forward in that direction. So we see even now a lot of the masculine energy recognizing and experiencing that sense of having to come into profound internal, like that is intimacy. You desire the intimacy from the feminine, you need to be able to provide it from your own self. And so we see even now a lot of the masculine energy, even in separation with feminine right now, learning, like understanding that to a certain degree, getting a better sense of that, if you will. Thank you. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that modality, and I even say, like, I even see this right now. Some of the masculine energy in this modality, you may even be having other masculine now coming towards you and being like, how did you land? Like, how did you end up with this, like, energetic counterpart? And this is the masculine, again, going through that hard thing of saying, like, I fixed myself. I did this work on myself. And the masculine being like, no, how you did it. And masculine being like, I did this. I did the work in here. Like, that's what I did. Like, this is the masculine. This is literally the masculine saying, no, they're going, what did you do? And they're going, I did this. I fixed this. And then I was able to fix that. Like, that is the energy of the masculine saying that, like, this is literally masculine trying to like articulate that to those who are not on that energetic journey. Feminine energy in that modality having the same moment right now, potentially around others, saying, how did you do it? And being like, I fixed this. I fixed this. I utilize that to, like, again, what happens when we're on that healing journey? It becomes so hard to be able to articulate to others, because that's that difference between saying, like, what did you do? Like, what did you do? Like, what did you do externally? Someone being like, give me the energetic recipe, versus saying like, okay, the first thing you do is go inside yourself and fix yourself. And then, like that is the internal process through which to be able to navigate forward. Continuing to get clarification right now, the energy in the heart of the divine union right now, this is that modality to a certain extent that feels like the energetic expression, if you will, in terms of recognizing and identifying what feels like it is creating that sense of energetic positivity versus that feeling of energetic anxiety. And we see even now that a lot of this discernment right now is that amplification point. And that is that difference between, again, feeling that valuation point in terms of experiencing things that are energetically difficult and feeling them from an external level, being able to navigate through them and still feel that energetic balance point and saying like these things are happening externally around me, versus that feeling of internally requiring some sense of adjustment in terms of saying it doesn't feel so much like, it doesn't matter so much what the energy outside of me is. I always energetically feel like that, because that is the difference that we see that is happening right now for the energy in the divine union in discerning what feels like it is something that can be externally adjusted versus something that needs to be internally navigated, right? That's hard work, and that takes a lot of honesty, because that requires a lot of energetic honesty to be able to identify what could look the same but having like very different. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our star card and the moon in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Pentacles. Masculine and feminine energy that's in the divine union frequency. This is why this can feel so energetically difficult to a certain extent, because this energy, if you will, has done a lot. So like, what happens when you've done so much work on yourself, within yourself? You're very good at being able to navigate these things internally. And this is that moment that we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, your own ability of navigating circumstances and situations and not wanting to get like create that sense of energetic anxiety of the other is almost creating that moment that it can be sometimes hard to discern the difference between you navigating from a state or space of excitement and positivity, feeling that sense of like energetic balance, versus what feels like that sense of energetic anxiety. So even now we see to a certain extent that that feels like a little bit of that path work, even in the heart of the divine union frequency, that feels a little energetically frustrating, because that's the difference between someone like being like, are you okay? And then being like, yes. Being like, no, but are you okay? Because that's that moment of the energy knowing each other well enough that you can kind of tell the difference between someone that says they're energetically okay versus someone being energetically okay. Those are different things. And even now we see that that could be some of the frustrating work that's happening right now, even in the heart of the divine union frequency, that's requiring that level or degree of honesty. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that moment that, again, it's hard to be able to put into words what's energetically happening, because that's that moment that we're seeing to a certain extent that feels like, if you're not experiencing it, it always just looks like someone being like, what did you do? Like, how did you do it? Can you just tell me what you did? I'll just do those things. And someone being like, I didn't do anything. Like this is the energy being like, I did this. I worked on it. I did it internally. I did this work internally. And that's what allows it to happen externally, right? And even now we can see that there could be that moment that feels like a little bit energetically frustrating for the energy experiencing that, because that's that moment that feels like, again, what you're experiencing with another is hard to put into words, but you also recognize that that's because you put the work in on yourself first. Masculine and feminine in separation. This is that moment that we see even now. It's very difficult, because this is the application of a lot of this energetic lesson that feels very hard. And if it feels very hard right now, it doesn't mean that you're moving in the wrong direction. It just means that it's a hard energetic lesson to a certain extent, because what's happening right now, the feminine energy seeing the masculine energy potentially in that moment of energetic confusion wants to be able to like lay in and give, like, show them their energetic map and be like, well, this is what I'm hoping to build. But this is that moment of the feminine almost saying like, I can't. I need to hold back a little bit, because this is the feminine saying, if you're not coming towards me with what you want to create, then we're not creating together. That's it, just you know, that's the energy of the feminine saying, I'm manifesting the type of energy that wants to create with me. And the energy that wants to create with me will be able to articulate on what they want to create. So we see even now that a lot of that feminine energy feels very frustrated right now, because it feels like the feminine feels to a certain extent like the pain of energetically withholding. But this is the feminine energy going, I'm not energetically withholding right now. I'm being energetically honest about the fact that I need to see in the masculine some kind of energetic plan in terms of what it is that they truly aspire, because their ability to articulate on that is what I need. Like, that's like what the feminine says, I need. And if it's difficult for the masculine, all the more reason they need to be able to energetically articulate on that. And this is the feminine energy almost saying, like, even if it's like, this is the feminine energy saying, even if I see a masculine that's trying to do so, then feminine's like, excellent. Like, that's enough, because that's the energy saying, at least I'm seeing the energy trying to do what I know is so hard to do. Masculine energy in this modality right now, if you're in that place or space where you may be feeling right now, there's potentially even a moment of, again, building forth with the feminine, but they're holding you back. They're just like energetically distant to you from a certain extent. There could even be right now some masculine energy that's dealing with the fact that there's a feminine that's like holding you at a distance because they haven't seen this level or degree of energetic clarity. And this is the masculine energy, as it were, effectively going through that hard work of recognizing and wrestling between what feels like honesty. This could even be masculine energy being like, but I was honest about the fact that I was confused. I was honest about the fact that I'm completely confused. And this is the feminine energy being like, you know, like, again, that moment, this is hard. This is such a difficult journey for the masculine, being able to energetically combine that authenticity with the intentionality. It feels like it's giving me that oil and water thing. It's like, it feels so hard to do because it feels so energetically vulnerable. But it's also like, that's the most important aspect here. So we see even now a lot of masculine energy working through this to a certain extent. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Three of Pentacles in combination with our Sun card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Masculine and feminine energy with our Page of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine, I mean, this, you know, and I got to stress right now, this retrograde period, like, not a lot of communication happening right now, or it could feel like, I got to stress this, be very careful. I know it sounds like a broken record here, but be very careful about not letting yourself get triggered. Because I see even now, like, a lot of this energy is just feeling very frustrated right now. Moving into that space or state of, like, you know, wanting to rip the Band-Aid off may even create that moment of feeling like a little energetically triggered. And also being a little bit stubborn in that to a certain extent. We see for both of these energies at play, this is something that's just happening across the board energetically to a certain extent. Masculine and feminine energy right now, that stubbornness coming into divine union is what brought you into divine union. So in a way, it's like, it's hard to like articulate against it because it feels like it's like energetically working to a certain extent. But it also feels like a little bit of this energy being like, you know, and I have to stress this. I want you to remember even now that whatever brought you forth into this space or place was a part of that journey. Making sure that you don't get too like radical about the difference of like the energy within your divine union versus what's without right now is really important, because that's that moment of being able to hold some kind of energetic compassion towards those spaces and places instead of looking towards that past version of self or those past experiences in a way that feels like they're all wholly negative, because that's that moment again of recognizing that everything that brought you forth to this point is a part of that energetic journey. Even if it's not necessarily something that you energetically need at this time or something that you're energetically releasing. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is a lot of wrestling with one's internal self right now. Because what we're effectively energetically seeing right now for a lot of the energy that's in the heart of the divine union frequency right now is navigating how to express or experience what you're feeling right now that may be feeling like it's creating any sense of frustration for you. And again, that's that moment of being able to identify and articulate whether it feels like it's happening on an internal level or whether it's something that is happening externally that requires some ability to adjust. Those are different conversations, and it's going to be different depending on where you are in all, like, in, you know, situation by situation, if you will. Clarification between our Sun card in its reversal and our Four of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Hermit. Even in the heart of the divine union right now, there's a lot of this like contemplative energy that's happening, and it is requiring a little bit of that internal journeying, if you will. It's hard to put this into words right now. We're seeing even now this is taking a little bit of internal contemplation, but why is that internal contemplation necessary to a certain degree? Because this is that amplification point in trying to recognize or identify what feels like it can be tangibly adjusted for versus what needs to be internally navigated. And we see even now like that level or degree of discernment, it's requiring a little bit of internal contemplation. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that modality that we are effectively seeing, that like this is that moment that may feel like you're really like the energy is like this is the energy coming into divine union, almost like hermiting up on themselves, because this is the energy saying like, again, that's why I said right now, like when we come into that divine union, it feels like everything else starts looking very stark in comparison. So being able to navigate that with a sense of like not letting it feel like it's like, you know, it's that difference about saying like we're experiencing things together versus starting to feel like that us against them. Just get rid of that us against them thing and just feel that sense of positivity and saying that you're doing these things together with a sense of gratitude and energetic joy. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This is the energy that is basically saying like preserving the energy and desire to preserve peace right now is so high that what we almost see that's happening to a certain degree is that moment that is amplifying the fact of like seeing something that might be moving in a direction that it may create a point of energetic disruption and just immediately pulling back on it. Feminine energy doing that, and I told you, very heightened discernment right now in separation, being like, like, no, like this is that moment that even here, this is the feminine energy being like the smallest sign is the energy pulling away. Masculine, you may be experiencing this right now, especially if this is that moment. And we see even now like almost a moment of masculine being like, don't misunderstand me, but almost potentially feeling like they've already been misunderstood, but also recognizing potentially that misunderstanding wasn't a misunderstanding. It was that place or space that like either it's coming from a state of either confusion that you need to clarify within your own self, or a resistance to truly being open and expressive with the feminine that requires more of that internal work, if you will. Final card for today's spread between our Hermit card and our Page of Wands in its reversal. Tricky cards to have together. Final card, 2 cards. Bottom of the final card for today. Queen of Swords, 3 of Cups. So you can see here, This is like I gotta say, everybody needs to be really careful with their with how you speak today, because there's a lot of this energy about not necessarily being I want to say energetically misunderstood. I'm not surprised to see this, my friends. We're in the middle of eclipse season with the Mercury retrograde, so there's that feeling of the intensification of the energy, with also all the confounding communication issues on the way. So making sure that you like double check how you're saying things or what you're saying, being really clear to help not necessarily let yourself be misunderstood is really important right now. And this is almost that energy that's like, I'd rather not say anything than like say the wrong thing to a certain extent, which is why we see even now there's this moment that may feel like a little bit of this like energetic retention point in the communication space, because this is almost that moment that someone's feeling like the need to be able to like want to articulate something, but also like feeling like they're like, do I want to just say the thing or do I want to hold it back? Do I want to just say the thing or do I want to hold it back? And we see even now a lot like both of these energies right now going through this process in separation, trying to navigate like the right thing to say, but in a way that'll be like, make sure that it's completely like clear and understood. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that modality that, again, it feels like that expansion point of like a lot of this energy, you know, pulling away, making a lot of these energetic choices, but again, feeling the importance and significance around the energy that feels like they're celebrating at this time, because this feels like a moment that should be energetically celebrated, versus being very observant about the energy that feels like they're not in that same state or space, right? Because there's a lot of observation that's happening here, but there's almost a lot of energetic acceptance that we think that we see as very important during this time. Like that's that moment of, again, the difference between seeing energy around you doing things and just not energetically caring, because like, again, that's the difference between like feeling like you're on your own path and like the things of the past have less and less importance, versus that moment of like the over concentration on things, you know, like it's the difference between like, you know, observing something and being like, that's odd, versus being like, what's that? You know, like that's that moment that says, like, again, if you're in that point of coming into divine union, recognizing like, that's like that moment, like helps you understand or recognize what feels like. This is that energetic equivalent of starting to feel that positive coming through right now, with the water settling around anything that felt like it was moving away from you at the time of coming into divine union, effectively. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union. This is that moment that requires a level or degree of intentionality and honesty, which is the difference between moving towards something and saying that like you're energetically handling something, versus having that moment of saying you're experiencing it with the sense of joy and positivity and abundance. That is that moment that's helping, because that's the difference between being in the same circumstance and situation or experiencing different things. And we see right now that a lot of that energy is trying to use that discernment to say like, I know we're tangibly in the same space, but are we energetically in the same space? And that requires a level of degree of honesty and clarity. Final card, bottom of the deck for today's read, is Knight of Pentacles. This is that energy we keep seeing. We cannot receive what we need unless we are able to articulate that. And even now, there's something about that refinement point in terms of being able to articulate what it is that we energetically need right now that is very valuable and important. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is the difference. This is why we see so much of this difficult conversation happening right now between what is in one's ability to adjust and accommodate, something that can be tangibly changed, versus something that needs to be internally navigated. So that ability of discerning that right now is heavy at the heart of the energy in the divine union. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this modality is one that you're experiencing a lot of energetic breakthroughs. Masculine, holding forth with your intentionality, even in the face of like, you know, spaces and places that you might not necessarily have felt that same confidence before. That is that moment for masculine that feels like it is a testing point to your own feelings of energetic integrity. Feminine, seeing masculine holding forth in that way, is that moment that requires that like sense of like breakthrough, because that's that point of observing and holding space for all these places and spaces wherein you wished masculine would have led forth to you in that way, but you hadn't energetically received it. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the feminine energy wanting to lend assistance to a masculine if they're in a point of energetic confusion, but almost pushing back to a certain extent, saying they need to come to me with their intentionality. The emotions that they feel towards me aren't enough. The passion they feel towards me aren't enough. They need to have the energetic plan. And it's hard for so much for the feminine, because that's almost the feminine energy feeling like they're denying some kind of energetic help to the masculine. But that's also the feminine energy saying, I'm doing this out of a sense of energetic compassion. Masculine, you may be recognizing and feeling that within your own self. This need or ability not just to move towards a feminine because you desire the feminine, but having to really articulate what it is that you aspire and desire to have with that feminine is the difference between looking at the feminine like some kind of object that you build around versus building with the feminine counterpart. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can have a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I'd like to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.